Hello my dear students, welcome back to the virtual class of history. So today I am going to teach you chapter number 11 and the topic is rise of fascism in Italy. Okay, and another topic which we'll discuss is how did Mussolini come to power. So why I am teaching this topic through this video, because this chapter is very important, and the rest of the parts of this chapter we will be discussing in class 12. Okay, so it would be better that you understand this topic clearly in this video. Okay, so let's start our today's class. So this chapter is all about the rise of fascism. What is fascism? How did fascism rise? And who was the propounder of fascism? What is this ideology all about? We'll discuss everything in this video today. So this video is going to be very short video, and I hope you'll watch this video till the end. Okay, so post-war discontent and the rise of Mussolini to power. So how did Mussolini come to power? So before that, we need to understand the background of the First World War. During the war, my dear, two alliances were there. Triple Alliance and Triple Entente were there. Okay, Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy was there, and on the other side Triple Entente, England, France and Russia was there. Okay, but as the war started, my dear, Italy joined the Entente group. Okay, Italy did not continue the war from the side of Germans, so they entered. That means Italy entered into a secret treaty of London with Britain. Okay, and what was the motive behind signing this secret treaty of London? Because as you know that we need to understand about the background of Italy. Italy was unified in the year 1870. In 1870, Italy was unified. Italy was unified by most of the young leaders, Count Cavour, Mazzini. They decided to unite Italy together. Before that, Italy was scattered into number of princely states ruled by different princes. Okay, so it was Victor Emmanuel who decided to unify Italy. So soon after the unification, my dear, Italy was economically and politically very weak. Okay, so anyhow they entered into the alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary. And later on, Italy thought that if I continue with Austria, then definitely my motives won't be fulfilled. So what were the motives? Like during the unification of Italy, my dear, most of the territories were left out. Many of the Italian speaking people were left out of the mainland of Italy. So there was a movement going on known as Italia Irredenta. Okay, and those territories were under the control of Austria. So if they continue the alliances with Austria, then it would be very difficult for Italy to go get those territories. Okay, that is why they decided to join hands with Britain and France. Okay, so when they joined hands with Britain and France, my dear, there was certain conditions which was decided in the Secret Treaty of London, like the territories like Trento, okay, Tresta, Northern Dalmatia would be given to Italy after the war. Okay, and that means later on whatever share will be there, that also will be given to Italy. So war is started, but when the war started, Italy completely betrayed Germany and Austria-Hungary and sided with fought from the Entente side. Okay, so when this war continued, my dear, anyhow the war was not in favor of Germany. At last Germany, that is the Central Powers, completely collapsed, and then it was the victory for the Allied powers. So when the peace conference was signed in Paris, that was known as Paris Peace Conference, my dear, in the Paris Peace Conference, whatever were promised through the Secret Treaty of London was not at all fulfilled. Okay, whatever were promised to Italy through the Secret Treaty of London, which was signed in the year 1915. In 1915, a Treaty of London was signed. It was known as Secret Treaty because it was signed secretly without letting the other countries know this treaty was signed. And through this treaty, Italy was promised Tresta, Trento, Dalmatia. Okay, Fume was not at all promised. So when the time came to fulfill the promises made by Britain and France, they completely what you call deserted Italy from the Paris Peace Conference. Okay, so that made or that hurt the sentiments of the people of Italy, that we were completely betrayed. We could not get the promised territories. Okay, that is why that was the condition when the people of Italy was very much dissatisfied with the Paris Peace Conference. Okay, and one after another the situation started becoming worse and worse. Okay, and those situation helped Mussolini to come to power. Okay, so now what were the conditions, or which all factors played an important role in bringing Mussolini to power, that we are going to discuss. So with the help of the board, I'll explain you properly. Okay, let's go to this board. So, through this board I'll explain you some of the conditions which gave rise to Mussolini coming to power. Okay, so it is mentioned, condition which gave rise to fascism. Okay, so number one, disappointment. Okay, disappointment. Okay, so disappointment after the war. The first one is disappointment after the war. As I have told you earlier also, when the war started, they fought from the side of Allied power, and they betrayed Germany and Austria, and they had already entered into the alliance known as what you call it, they had signed a treaty which was known as Secret Treaty of London. Okay, so as per the Secret Treaty of London, they were promised certain territories like Trento, Trieste, Northern Dalmatia. Okay, and when they could not get those territories back, my dear, they were very, very hurt. So in the Paris Peace Conference, those promised territories were not at all given to Italy. Okay, so instead of that they also wanted to get a Fume, but that Fume port was given to Yugoslavia. Okay, Fume was given to Fume was given to Yugoslavia. Okay, so now what happened? There was a man, his name was Gabriel D'Annunzio. He was also known as a romantic poet. What did he do was that he, along with few hundreds of Italian bravos, marched towards Fume, and Fume was captured. Okay, Fume was captured, and the government of Italy also could not do anything. Okay, and Fume was completely restless that a person from Italy along with few hundreds of Italian bravos captured Fume. Okay, so anyhow at last the government gave order to restore back Fume port from Gabriel D'Annunzio. Okay, and at last Fume was given to Yugoslavia. Okay, it was not that the entire Fume was given to Yugoslavia. They divided between Yugoslavia and Italy. Okay, and though Gabriel D'Annunzio surrendered, that incident made the government very, very unpopular, because what government should have done was done by a person who showed daring and captured Fume. That should have been done by the government. Okay, so that way that incident brought a lot of disrespect for the government, and government became very, very unpopular after that time. Okay, so Fume was given. Okay, but anyhow Fume was given back to Yugoslavia also. Now the second point over here is economic effect after the war. So as you know that Italy was involved in the First World War, and they also faced a lot of economic crisis. Okay, so after the war Italy had suffered very badly. Economic condition of Italy was very, very worst. Okay, like the government of Italy. Okay, the government of Italy later on was a parliamentary government. Government of Italy became very, very helpless. They could not sort out the issues of the people. The people were not happy with the government of Nitti and Guillotine. Okay, so the government, that means the problems which had come up after the First World War was beyond the reach of the government to sort it out. The government completely became helpless. Okay, like army was demobilized, unemployment problem was there. Okay, international trade has been hampered, People became jobless, people were unemployed and all, factories were closed, okay, and even a bank also decided to restrict the loans to be given to the people, okay. So Italian government even had to pay a huge loan they received from America. So from where will this money come, my dear? Economically, economically Italy was a great sufferer after the First World War. That means economic condition of Italy became worst after the First World War. Okay, so at that time the government was completely a failure. People were looking towards government to sort out the issues, unemployment problem, the people lost their job, there was a rise of prices and all the essential goods prices also has gone high, and it was very difficult for the middle class people to survive in that condition, and government was completely helpless because everything was scattered. Government could not sort out the issues of the people, government could not solve the economic crisis of Italy. Okay, so that also was one of the reason that gave rise to Mussolini to power. Now number three is growing contempt of parliamentary government. Okay, growing contempt. So growing contempt for the parliamentary government, what does it mean, my dear? The government, as you know, that votes for all men and proportional representation was introduced after the election of 1919, and with that people voted, and political parties formed the government. But as a result, what happened, my dear? 9 political parties were there in the parliament. 9 political parties, okay, like coalition governments were formed. There was no stability in the government. The policies could not be implemented strictly. Okay, they were busy fighting among themselves. They did not have time to sort out the issues of the country. Rather, they were busy occupying good positions in the government and all, good posts they wanted. Okay, so no stable government was formed. There was no stable government, my dear. Okay, coalition ministry means political two or three political parties combinedly they form the government. Okay, there was no consistency in the policies could not be implemented properly. Okay, so people gradually lost faith from the parliamentary form of government. People lost faith from the parliamentary form of government. They thought that this parliamentary system is not working properly. They are busy among themselves. Coalition government definitely is very harmful for the country. There will be no stability. There is a difference, stable and unstable. Stable, they always will run smoothly with consistent programs and policies, but unstable government, my dear, that is due to lot of political parties forming the government. Okay, that way, my dear, the conditions were becoming worse one after another. Economic problem, parliamentary government was completely a failure. Okay, parliamentary government also completely failed. Okay, so now point number 4. Okay, point number 4, that is a wave of strike. So wave of strike, one after another strike continued in Italy. Okay, strike after strike, because the workers they were not paid properly, the factory owners they could not pay the workers properly. That is why strike, one after another strikes continued in Italy. So that is very harmful. If strike continues, my dear, that will bring the economy of the country down. Okay, so as the government was not very stable, so they also could not solve the issues of the country, and there was strike one after another. Wave of strike, continuously strike continued in Italy. Okay, in some of the cases, my dear, the workers seized the factories. In most of the cases, the workmen seized the factories and they started to run the factories. But unfortunately, as they were workers, they could not organize. They could not run the factories properly. That is why that also could not become success. That means that time the private properties were under threat. That means government could not save the private properties of the people. The people were suffering. The rich people, their factories were seized. The workers, they were seizing the factories one after another because they were frustrated. They were not paid properly. Okay, so Italian government completely failed to protect the private property of the people. Okay, they completely failed. Okay, social revolution was going to threaten the country. It was felt like the country was moving towards communism, but ultimately that was stopped. Okay, and one more thing is that After even the farmers and the peasants, they seized the properties of the landlords also. In the industrial sector, workers seize the factories, and the farming sector, the peasants and the farmers, peasants mostly, they seize the properties of the landlord, and there was no one to save the private property. The government was completely helpless, and the people on the other side were completely restless. So strike after strike, what we'll understand by this, my dear, that if strike continues, my dear, that will bring the economy of the country down. Already the Italian economy was down, no production. That means that is also one of the reason. Okay, if there will be no production, my dear, the economy of the country will go down. Okay, and on the other side, the factories were seized. There was no good relation between the factory owners and the workers. They have lost the confidence. Okay, so restlessness was spread everywhere throughout the country, my dear. In this situation, what will the people think? What the people wanted? They definitely wanted to have a strong government which can sort out the issues of the people. Okay, and who can save the private properties of the people. Government has completely failed to do so. Okay, so in this situation, my dear, in this situation, they thought that there should be someone who can boldly take strong actions in order to save our country. Number one, going into the hands of the communists and trying to sort out the issues of the people one by one. So who can do so? In this situation, my dear, Mussolini came in front of the people. Okay, so now the fifth one. So in this situation, my dear, Mussolini, who was Mussolini? Mussolini was a nationalist. He could not see the country going into the hands of the communists. He could not see the country's condition was becoming worse day by day. Somebody from the country should come out and try to solve the issues of the people. Okay, so Mussolini was a nationalist. He was a socialist. He was a journalist. Okay, and then in this desperate situation, my dear, Italy was hoping for some miracle, my dear, and then under the government of Nitti and Guillotine, people had become completely restless. So Mussolini came up and he formed the Fascist Party. Fascist Party was set up, and slowly and gradually, my dear, fascist branches were set up in different parts of the country, and the popularity of the fascism was growing day by day. Okay, so what is mean of fascism? Fascism means a bundle of rods with a protruding axe in the middle. That was a symbol of authority which was carried by the Roman consuls in the Roman times. Okay, so in 1919, Fascist Party was formed. In 1919, Fascist Party was formed in Italy. Okay, with a socialist and republican program. And one after another fascist branches, offices were set up in different parts of the country, and popularity of fascism was growing ground. Okay, who were the members? Ex-army men, okay, the educated youth, they all joined the Fascist Party. Okay, and the popularity of the fascism was gaining ground day by day. Okay, and initially he was with the working class, but later on he thought that no, this working class adamant attitude is going to hamper the economy of the country. That is why he tried to protect the private properties of the people, rich people, and from there he also started getting funds, okay, to set up his fascist party. Funds are required to set up party properly. So Mussolini now changed his policy, and then he started defending the private property, and in this way he got a financial support from the business circle one by one. And even the church, even the Pope, okay, even the Pope supported Mussolini, okay, because Mussolini was fighting against the communists. That is why the church, that is the Pope, also supported Mussolini. So this way, my dear, Mussolini slowly and gradually was coming to the mainstream of Italian politics. Okay, now how did Mussolini became so popular? It was all due to there was no oppositions. Okay, so number 6 you can see here, my dear, lack of opposition. There was no opposition, or we can say that there was no political parties to oppose the Fascist Party. Okay, anti-fascist group failed to stand against the fascist. Those who were against the fascists, they completely failed, my dear. Okay, fascist clubs were set up in each and every parts of the country. Okay, so everywhere, wherever meeting violence, there was a violence between other political parties and fascist. Okay, then this way, my dear, Italy became the battleground of fight between the fascists and the other socialist groups and all. Okay, that continued for many days, and slowly and gradually, my dear, the fascist was gaining ground and people's support was there with him. So that time Prime Minister Guillotine was a prime minister, and in 1921, okay, in 1921 election was conducted, and in this election Prime Minister Guillotine thought that if fascist wins, so fascist will support me. Okay, so he, Guillotine was thinking that if Fascist Party gets maximum seats, then they will support Guillotine government, and that way he will continue. But unfortunately, what happened, my dear, fascist only got 35 seats. Okay, and the socialists got 123 seats. Socialists got 123 seats, and the socialists refused to support Guillotine. Okay, socialists refused to support Guillotine. So in this condition, my dear, Guillotine thought that now it is not my time to continue, so he resigned, my dear. Okay, so Guillotine had to resign. Okay, so in this situation, my dear, the socialists, in order to utilize this in their favor, called for a strike, general strike. Okay, strike all over Italy. And in this situation, my dear, okay, that is point number 7, general strike. So socialists, in order to utilize this in their favor, my dear, this situation, they called for a general strike. So in this situation, my dear, Mussolini announced that if government fails to crush this strike, my dear, then Mussolini himself with his party will try to crush the strike, make the strike unsuccessful. Okay, he decided to completely crush the strike. Okay, so when the government failed to do so, okay, Mussolini then thought that this is the right time that he should march towards Rome and capture the government. So with 50,000 black shirts. How many? 50,000 black shirts. Why it is called black shirts? Because they used to wear black shirts. Their uniform was black. Okay, they used to march the city in a quasi military manner. They used to parade the streets of Italy. So with 50,000 black shirts, Mussolini marched towards Rome. Okay, and when he reached Rome, my dear, through different routes he followed. Some went through road routes, some went through rail routes, but nobody tried to stop Mussolini and the fascists, my dear, and finally he reached to Rome. Okay, and when he reached Rome, my dear, even the Emperor Victor Emmanuel, my dear, that is he did not try to stop them. He thought that if I order the forces to stop them, they may not agree or they may not obey my orders, because that time the popularity of Mussolini was very high. He had become very popular, and even those army men or the forces, they had sympathy for Mussolini. That is why Victor Emmanuel, my dear, he called him and asked him to form the government. Victor Emmanuel asked him to form the government. Without any opposition, he reached to Rome, and Victor Emmanuel called him, okay, and then he was made the prime minister. Okay, so initially he had a very few members. That is why he had to move very cautiously. So in the next class, I will discuss about some of the important domestic policies of Mussolini. Okay, hope you all have understood this topic clearly. So we have come to the end of today's class. Okay, so hope you have understood what actually I wanted to teach you. So my main motive of teaching this chapter was to make you understand clearly about the rise of fascism in Italy. Okay, and what all factors prompted Mussolini to come to power. So in the next class, I will teach you about the main features of Mussolini's domestic policy. Okay, because this chapter is divided in two parts. The first part we have to discuss in class 11, and the second part, that is a foreign policy, we'll discuss in class 12. Okay, so hope you have understood it. So this much for today. We'll meet again next class. Till then, take care, stay safe. Bye bye.